Good morning, everyone. We've been using topographers widely and primarily for refractive surgeries, but now its role in cataract surgery per se is becoming more and more important. So, with the advent of state-of-the-art technology, cataract surgery is now turning into a refractive surgery with patients demanding flawless quantity as well as quality of vision. However, for achieving optimum quality of vision, post cataract surgery, optical biometry is just not enough. So, hitting the target bang on, it requires three things. First is accurate planning, perfect execution, and impeccable refined instrumentation. So, one such instrument is corneal topographer. It helps in IOL power calculation, deciding the type of IOL, and aids in giving optimal quality of vision, especially in premium IOLs. Additionally, it also helps in diagnosing various corneal conditions that are otherwise missed or can hamper the quality of vision. And these conditions mainly include keratoconus, pellucid marginal degenerations, post-refractive cataract evaluation, astigmatism, which is induced by pterygium or corneal scars, and presence of anterior basement membrane dystrophy. Also, it helps us in planning limbal relaxing incisions and arcuate incisions. Therefore, understanding the importance of cornea before planning any IOL calculation is of utmost value because irregular cornea will lead to either wrong IOL power calculation, it can result in postoperative glare or halos, it can also cause reduced quality of vision because of induced abrasions, and can lead to incorrect assessment of LRIs or arcuate incisions. So now in cataract per se, it helps us in pentacam nucleus. There's something called as pentacam nucleus staging. It also helps in planning premium IOLs, aids in calculating IOL power post-refractive surgery or in ectasia patients. So to begin with, we'll see what exactly is pentacam nucleus staging. This is particularly helpful in those patients where clinically we don't really see any cataract or any signs of any signs which mainly suggest the decrease in vision, but the patient often complains of blurring of vision. So basically, this pentacam nucleus staging, it offers an objective measure of the lens nuclear density of nuclear cataracts, and therefore it might be useful to evaluate the progression of the cataract objectively in our clinical practice. Next, we talk about the use of topographers in planning toric IOLs. So it has been very well known that automated keratometry performs poorly in cases of suboptimal ocular surfaces. So therefore, corneal topography is a prerequisite to obtain reliable measurements of astigmatism as well as the axial position in candidates for toric IOL. So this is a scan which is known as Holiday Equivalent Keratometry Reading Map, which is available on Pentacam Topographer. This map was basically designed to take into account the refractive effect of both anterior as well as posterior surfaces of the cornea. And it gives here, as you can see, it gives here the zonal distribution of keratometry readings. Now, normally the difference in the EKR 65 mean over here, the third one, between the zone 2 to 4.5 mm should be less than 1.2 diopters for it to be normal. And the difference in the steep axis astigmatism should be less than 10 degrees in the same zone. Also, the histogram here that we see should not be widely skewed and it should be a tall single peak. So all of this here in this patient is well within the normal range. Therefore, we can very well go ahead with the toric IOL in such patients. Now here in this scan, same things if we see the difference in the EKR mean here is more than 1.2 diopters. The astigmatism is basically more than 10 degrees across 2 to 4.5 mm zone. And also the histogram is widely skewed over from starting from 54 to 80 diopters. So therefore, this means the cornea is irregularly irregular, and this cannot be an ideal candidate for implanting toric IOLs. So next we talk about planning of multifocal IOLs in normal as well as in post-refractive surgery patients. So this is a post-LASIK patient who came for cataract surgery. Here on the axial scan, we see there is a slightly decentered ablation. So now here, this is a Zernicke's pyramid, which we again get it on Pentacam. This mainly tells us about the presence of higher and lower order abrasions. Now, lower order abrasions are here, which can be normally corrected by glasses, and higher order abrasions are the ones which mainly causes decrease in the quality of vision and are not corrected by glasses. So it mainly includes vertical and horizontal coma, trefoil, quadrifoil, etc. Here we can see it also gives us root mean square values of both the lower and higher order abrasion. So here in this particular patient, the root mean square of higher order abrasion is more than 0.5, which is above the normal range. Here it is 0.9. So because there were higher corneal abrasions seen, this patient won't be an ideal candidate for multifocal intraocular lens, as these aberrations post-operatively can cause decrease in the quality of vision by causing glare and halos. And therefore, we can go ahead with a monofocal IOL and not a multifocal. So this is a case of normal patient coming to us with a opinion for cataract surgery. Patient has a symmetric bow tie, as we can see here on the axial map. Now here on seeing the Zernicke's pyramid, the root mean square of higher order aberration is less than 0.5, which is within the normal limit. And that means that this patient can very well go ahead with a multifocal IOL, provided the retina is normal and other parameters which are required prerequisites for MFIL are within normal limits. Next, I'll be discussing about how topography helps in deciding the type of IOL in ectatic corneas. So first and foremost, before planning the IOL, one should be looking checking for the location of the cone, where exactly it is located. It can be either peripheral located or can be centrally located, or it can be bisecting the visual axis. So how do we decide the location of cone? So we basically have to see the posterior surface here, back surface of the cornea. Central cone is the one wherein the cone is within more than 50% of the cone is within the 3 mm zone, and a decentered cone is the one where more than 50% is outside the 3 mm zone. So this is basically a decentered cone. Now here again, we have a highly the difference in the EKR 65 mean is more than 1.2 diopters, with a astigmatism of more than 10 degrees across the different zones. Also, we have a widely skewed histogram, which is again not an ideal case for toric IOL implantation. And this is another case where we have a cone bisecting the pupil, basically a central cone, with a difference of less than 1.2 diopters in the EKR 65 mean and less than 10 degrees in the astigmatism. Also, we have a single peak here, which is therefore ideal case for toric IOL implantation. This is a case of pellucid marginal degeneration, again because of widely skewed histogram and the difference not within the normal limits. This cannot be an ideal case for toric IOLs. Next, lastly we move on to to the planning of post-refractive surgery, planning of IOLs in post-refractive surgery patients. So this is a case of basically 60-year-old female who presented to us with cataract surgery, who is who had undergone LASIK surgery 30 years back, and there were no previous records available. So, and this patient had a well-centered ablation. So in this scan, the difference in the EKR 65 mean here is more than 1.2 diopters. Also, the steep axis, the values of the astigmatism axis is more than 10 degree. Also, we see a broad flat histogram. So therefore, this post-LASIK patient is not an ideal candidate for a for a multifocal IOL. And once we have the pentacam readings, we can very well go to the online ASCRS calculator, click on the prior myopic LASIK or the PRK box here. Next, you see the box wherein you need to fill the pre-op and the post-op data. Target refraction should be always kept at 0 here in post-LASIK patients. And then we fill in the zonal wise the values of keratometry readings. Also, we fill in the biometry readings here. And so in the next box, we get the IOL power calculation done by different formulae. And here, because we didn't have the pre-op LASIK data, we will get the different IOL power here on our right side. And depending on that, we also get average, minimum, and maximum power. So for post-LASIK patients, we use the minimum IOL power, which has been calculated as is been suggested by the published data. Similarly, in RK patients, the only thing that we see is instead of taking the minimum power, we take here the average IOL power because of the possibility of post-surgery hyperopic shift. Thank you.